What a chilling way to start a story, right? And believe me, it only gets more puzzling from here. We're going to dive into what happened to a family that seemed to just drive away from their home and vanish off the face of the earth.
So, yeah, this is the story of the vanishing at Road's End. And it's one of those cases where every single clue seems to lead to another, even bigger question. To really get what makes this so strange, you have to understand where it all began. And honestly, it was a completely normal morning. We're talking about an average family living a quiet, pretty unremarkable life in a small town. No drama, no obvious trouble, absolutely nothing to suggest the bizarre events that were about to happen. And this is where the story takes its first weird turn. One morning, they get into their truck for what seemed like a quick drive, but they didn't tell a soul where they were going. They just left. Now think about that. This wasn't some planned vacation. It felt sudden, secretive, and as we now know, it was final. So just like that, the family was gone. The days turned into a frantic search, which eventually led investigators deep, deep into the wilderness. And that's where they found the first piece of the puzzle.
Their truck was found, but get this, it was locked. That single detail is so crucial. This wasn't a breakdown or an accident scene. Someone deliberately locked the doors, which suggests they either planned on coming right back or they desperately wanted to keep something out. And to make it even stranger, the keys were missing. So they lock the truck, take the keys with them, and then just walk off into the dense woods. Why? I mean, if you're abandoning your vehicle, why would you even bother locking it? It's one of those details that makes absolutely no sense.
The state of the truck was baffling enough for sure, but the things they left behind inside, well, that's what really elevates this from a missing persons case to a truly disturbing enigma.
This is the contradiction at the very heart of the case. Okay, so inside, they left behind their phones, their main connection to the world. They left a map, which kind of suggests they had a destination. And most bizarre of all, they left a bag filled with cash. So were they running from something or to something? And why on earth would you leave behind the very things you need to survive or start over? With all the physical evidence just leading nowhere, investigators started looking into the family's life in the weeks right before they disappeared. And what they found painted a very dark and disturbing picture. Yeah, it turns out this wasn't some sudden event after all. It seems this creeping sense of fear had taken hold of the family long before they drove into those woods. Their friends and loved ones had all noticed a huge shift in their behavior. And we're not just talking about some vague feelings of unease. No, these were specific fearful actions. They were literally covering their windows as if they were hiding from view. They were explicitly telling people they believed someone or something was pursuing them. It was like they were a family under siege. And that becomes the central question of this entire mystery. Was this fear rooted in a real, tangible threat, or was it some kind of shared delusion, a paranoia that spiraled out of control and ultimately drove them into the wilderness to their doom? For years, there was no answer. The case went completely cold. The truck sat in an evidence lot, and the woods just kept their secrets. Years passed, but then a chance discovery by a couple of hikers brought the whole case roaring back to life. It's just an agonizing gap that separates the two key discoveries in this case. The truck was found just days after they vanished, but their remains, they weren't discovered for years. An immense, silent period where no one had any idea what had become of them. And the location was just staggering. They were found miles away from where they had locked their truck. This means they walked, on foot, for a significant distance into some really unforgiving wilderness, with no supplies, no phones, nothing but the clothes on their backs and the keys in their pocket. But even this grim discovery provided no real answers. They were found all together, staying as a family unit until the very end. But there were no signs of an attack, no bullet holes, no broken bones. The official cause of death couldn't even be determined. They simply ended. So where does that leave us? Without a clear cause of death or a motive, investigators and armchair detectives are left with two competing and equally chilling explanations for what happened. So on one hand, you have the internal threat. This theory suggests their paranoia became a self-fulfilling prophecy. They fled a perceived danger, got lost in the woods, and tragically succumbed to exposure. On the other hand, you have the external threat.
This theory says that their fear was real. Someone was after them, and they were truly running for their lives, choosing a desperate flight into the wilderness over facing their pursuer.
And this is the thought that will stay with you. Because if the threat was all in their heads, it's a tragedy. But if the threat was real, it means that whatever chased this family into the woods got away with it, and it might still be out there.